Untold Assam, the series that brings you the inspiring stories of Assamese living abroad.
At the end of the day, and this is a very strong personal belief, we make our own future. We control our destiny. And I always say, it is possible to bend fate. So if it was not for that 1%, right, we would still be riding horses. We would still be, working at night with a candlelight. Finding opportunities alone is not good enough, right? And having a solution to that opportunities that somebody is willing to pay for. If you can imagine it and willing to put the hard work, the rest will happen. You'll figure it out.
Born and brought up in Guwahati, Siddhartha Chowdhary is the founder and chairman of Credence, one of the top 25 farms based in the Washington, D.C. area. Credence is the largest privately held company serving the U.S. government, supporting programs across defense, intelligence, national security, health, and diplomacy. A graduate of IIT Kharagpur, Siddharth has been awarded by the Honorable President of India and has been recognized as a minority business leader. Today, he shares his insights on how uncertainty can create opportunities, the key factors to focus on for building a successful business, and the lessons he has learned through his entrepreneurial journey. Please welcome today's guest, Sithart Chery. Siddharth, it's truly a great pleasure to have you today. I was reading about your journey, about you, and I was so excited to know more about it. Apuni Guwahati Dangor is, I think, Raghunath Chowdhary, the celebrated writer and poet. Apuni Dear Borealor. And your company, Credence, is one of the top 25 farms in the Washington, D.C. area. And it's the fastest growing privately held farm as per the Inc. magazine. So, yeah, it is such a delight to have you. But is it true that when you arrived in America, you had only $50 in hand?
Yeah, I think I was foolish, and I was just excited about starting a new journey. And I've always wanted to be in control of my destiny. I've always wanted to start a large company. So I was eager to get started. There's a series of life events that brought me to that point, which essentially made me immigrate to the US with just $50. We say, back to your question, yeah, my American ahote mor khali $50 asil, aru at that time when I cell phone there is no cell phones, right, and there is no internet. So essentially, it was just me with a resume, with a promise of a job and $50, but with big dreams in my eyes.
Kun sonor kotha? Which year was
1994.
Long time back.
Long time back, yeah.
Yes. I mean, I have no doubt that you didn't have fear that $50, because you had the skills, you had the qualifications and the confidence. So you knew you will build, yourself financially. We'll talk about that, but let's go to your childhood. Life hasn't always been easy for you. Your father passed away when you were just 10 years old. Your mother raised 3 children. You were doing your schooling from Don Bosco at the time. And because of financial constraints, I believe your mother considered moving you to another school with no fees. Is it true that the principal of Don Bosco at the time reduced your tuition fees so that you can continue studying at Don Bosco?
Yeah, absolutely. Father Thomas, principal of Don Bosco Hekini Hawaii. So I am still very grateful to him. We are still in touch after all these years.
So you said that you have had unusual events in life, which probably not many people go through. Are you able to share any of it?
Yeah, so when right, there was a lot of boycott, schools were closed. and all of that. And this is in the early 80s, because of Blur. So almost in my high school, during my high school, you don't know whether you'll have school. I remember going to the school for exam only to know that school has been shut down and you don't know when the exam would be next. The rati mane amar ghordut mane duitala ghor upart mane the local guys, right? They used to come and mane pohra diye. So they used to watch that nothing is happening. And I still remember that all they had was a few sticks. So even if there was a mob, and thank God there was none, right? I don't know how much protection that would be for the local community as a young child without a father, with mom, with two sisters growing up, right? And what does it do to you in your life? And then getting into IIT itself, right? During our times, those times, very few people actually got into IIT. In fact, I have until I went to IIT, I've never met somebody from Assam who went to IIT recently who could tell us on how to get in. It was almost this mythical place, right? And then that you hear about. But what I knew is getting to IIT, most people said that your job is assured, and you get the best education for free. And that was good enough for me, right? Except nobody knew or could tell me how to get in. So then the question is, because Northeast Europa, very few people got in. A big difference was the curriculum itself. There was a difference. And also in the, you're talking about the late 80s, right? Late 80s, we did not have all this internet and all these resources. And the biggest issue was lack of awareness. Like we didn't even know how to prepare, right? So somehow I willed myself into going into IIT. I thought after IIT, I will work in software and then I will go to IIM. And then you have the perfect resume, at least back in the day in India. So for my IIM, I got a software development job. I was working in one of the top startups, preparing for IIM. Literally the night before the exam, I was prepared. I came out, watched TV, and you see something, all the channels were showing the exact same thing. Next morning, that was the Babri Masjid. Babri Masjid had collapsed. There was like a riot, and there was curfew across. The exams were obviously canceled. Exam was canceled, right? So then I decided, okay, maybe it's not meant to be. I will go to the US, see what. So I got a job offer in the US. I was prepared to go. I closed down my bank account, got out, gave up everything I had, just had my suitcase prepared, staying in the hotel. Like 24 hours before my flight, the owner of the company calls me and he says that change in plans, somebody else is going, but he'll say, oh, don't worry, I'll send you the next time. So at that point, I kind of realized, right, like as long as I work for someone else, they will always be in control of my. And I've never believed, especially growing up in uncertainties during last time meditation, growing up without a father, realizing that whatever I do in life, I have to do it on my own, not with someone else. So it was not really acceptable to me at that point that someone else will always have control over what I do and how far I'm able to go in life. So I quit. So I quit at that point, and that is the $50 I had.
You have said that your early hardships, which you have just mentioned, that has actually pushed you to do your best in everything. Do you sometimes wonder, why is it that some people manage to use adversity as fuel for growth, while others, feel as if they're the victim of their circumstances? Obviously, you are in the first category. Do you ever think about it, why that is that people choose differently?
So this is a topic of great interest to me personally, right? Knowing myself, knowing successful entrepreneurs, and as being one of the fastest growing companies for 13 straight years, which is a record according to Inc. I had the fortune of meeting a lot of great entrepreneurs, and then going to IIT, where so many of my colleagues and people from my alma mater end up becoming startups both in India and in the US. So I had the ability to see and observe a lot of very successful people. And what I've realized is at the end of the day, and this is a very strong personal belief, we make our own future. We control our destiny. And I always say, it is possible to bend fate, which is destiny, to your will. But you have to be willing, work hard, and give what it takes, right? Because success is not easy and it comes at a price. The question is, are you willing to pay the price? And I don't mean to trivialize it, but if you think of it, what does it mean that we shape our own destiny, right? If you look at a struggle or a difficulty as an opportunity to reinvent yourself, to find opportunities, to find new ways of growing, the universe will conspire to help you. On the other hand, when there is a challenge and you think that I am powerless against this challenge and I will struggle and I will not do well, guess what? That would be the truth. That would be the truth as well.
You have been talking about uncertainty, and I think you have really learned how to deal with it. I'll come to also how you find opportunities in crisis. But when you arrived in America, you said that you wanted to stay back in India after your IIT from Kharagpur and ultimately go back to Assam. But when you were working for somebody, the boss said that this is not your turn, and you quit and you come to the US. You had $50 in hand. Now, like I said before, I do not think you worried about how I'll build my finances. But were you did you have any sort of fear coming into a new country? It can be feeling uncomfortable. It can be feeling a lack of confidence in some way. You have also said that you are not a citizen, but did you have a right visa?
Yes.
What were those days like? What was your fear when you arrived into a new country?
So, see, uncertainty and fear are two different things in my mind.
Okay.
I have very little fear in general because it's really a question of what is the worst case situation and can I live with the worst case situation, right? And if the answer is worst case situation is not that bad, then all I've wasted is maybe money, maybe time. But for me, it's always a question of what if things work. Fear is never a binary choice, right? So it's not a question of why should I sacrifice 2 years of my life in Cotton College to try to get to IIT? It's a question of what is the alternative. That most people are comfortable with the status quo. Most people like the way things are. And usually if you're comfortable, you like the things they are. There's no need for change. There is no need for risk taking because you can live with what you have. But if you think about it, right, if that is how, at one point I actually looked up the statistics and I may be misquoting it a little bit. I think it's 98 and change of people are comfortable way life is. It's really like a 1% or less that actually questions it. So if it was not for that 1%, right, we would still be riding horses. We would still be, still be working at night with a candlelight. Why do you need? Why would Edison try to create a bulb, right? So there is something about questioning, challenging, and does things always have to be this way? And all successful businesses are started from basic premise: can things be done differently, better?
So that 1%, I think, Siddharth, you come in that 1% for sure, who always questioned, always wanted to do things differently. And you also said that one thing that you don't have is fear. So in 2007, you mentioned just before, it was a time during the global recession. Everybody was closing down their businesses. People were losing their jobs. And you have this whole, breaking barrier is your, I think, default mode. You started Credence, your company. Was it a calculated risk? Because you just said that, it's most businesses, the thriving businesses start from crisis. So did you see opportunity? Is that how you started? Yeah, you're nodding. So I think.
So in 2008, I knew, end of 2007, 2008, I knew there was a crisis coming. I knew that this is my time to start. But I was in Washington, D.C. I have never worked with the government. So, but since I was in D.C., I was like, okay, let me tackle the federal sector. And at that point, I had like $30,000. So which is very little to start a business, especially in the sector I'm in, which is all about influence and who you know, who you can hire. I was new to this country, not new to the country by then, new to the DC area. $30,000, it would tide me for, I thought at most it would tide me for like 6 months. But after which, or maybe 5-6 months, after which I can always get a job. So yeah, I've lost. But if I did not do it, right, I would forever think about it.
No, wonderful. I think although everything that you have done looks like taking huge risk, but everything is calculated because you know where you're going, like you said. Today, my whole aim is to gather a little more information from you about entrepreneurship. So if someone comes to you and wants to know how to build a business, how to build a company, is there a step-by-step guide that you would, talk about? Like how would you go about it?
So it's interesting because a lot of people do ask me all the time, and a lot of people come and says, you don't have to tell me your secret sauce, right? Just tell me a few ideas. And I always say there is no secret sauce in entrepreneurship. The biggest thing is to have a very open mind, open, curious mind. I mean, that is, and great resilience, ability to work hard, right? That is given in any career. But if you think about entrepreneurship, I mean, without glorifying it, without talking about, the rock star personality that a lot of the entrepreneurs have, without talking about valuation and fundraising, fundamentally, what is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is finding opportunities, having the ability to find opportunities. And finding opportunities alone is not good enough, right? And having a solution to that opportunities that somebody is willing to pay for. I mean, it is as simple as that, right? And those are the basic questions I ask. Most people are stuck on an idea. You don't start off with an idea, because if you start off with a pencil, right, then it's a question of who wants to buy a pencil. And the question is not with the idea in mind. Question is, what is the opportunity? And it all comes down to very basics of what is the unmet need? What is your solution? Are people willing to pay a price? And is the market saturated or not? And if it is not, irrespective of whether it's saturated or not, right? How, what is your path to penetrating the market? I also want to make a difference, right? And I say, because some people, when I come to Assam, right, they say, oh, you are so successful now. What you have done does not apply to, when a more situation not apply in Okare, right? But that is not true. On day one, I was like you. Probably I'm worse than you. That at the age of 21, if you have more than $50, right, you are already better off in life than me. At the age of 17, right, if you are in a stable, not stable, if you're in a middle class family with access to resources, you are better than me. At 10 years old, you had both parents, with a parent who stayed at home to raise you and a dad who mentored you, coached you, but you're better off than me. So at every point in time, up till now, you are probably better off than me, right? Now, what's 30 years from now, 20 years from now, what is that trajectory that will make you better than me, and on an age perspective? So it's really not a question of some people are more gifted or some people had things easy, right? It's like how we define life, what we make out of it.
Yeah, such a wonderful answer. Because, you have spoken about entrepreneurship, and I was going to ask that, what has made you successful in Washington, D.C.? Is it the same principles that one can apply in Assam? And you kind of said, yes, it's the basic principles remain the same. Do you have a theory? What fails, when someone starts a business, an idea, a venture? Do you have a theory what makes somebody fail? Because you have said that the basics.
Yeah, so when I say basics, right? So what I have only talked about so far is what does it take to have a successful idea, right? So the examples I gave is success. having a successful idea is a minimum requirement, not the requirement. Like it's a necessary and sufficient condition. It's necessary to have a business, but it's not sufficient. I mean, what you need is to have a vision, right? That you can articulate. How to inspire people, how to attract people, how to communicate your value proposition, how to work every day as if it's your last, how to the attention to details matters, speeds matters, right? And this is the grind that actually makes companies successful. When I talk to entrepreneurs, both in Assam and across the US, I always ask, what do you think is your most limiting factor? Like what would limit you from being successful? People will say funding, all of that, right? The only thing that stops you, in my perspective, right, is your ability to dream big. What stops you is your power of your imagination. If you can imagine it and willing to put the hard work, the rest will happen. You'll figure it out. I mean, businesses, you don't have to be stuck to an idea, right? So if you remain humble, if you remain curious, if you are always looking for opportunities and threats, you will see where the opportunity is. You may want to start a sahar dukan, and then you realize that what is needed, all the people coming there are actually South Indian people. There is no dosa shop. You may be more successful as a dosa shop just by paying attention, right?
Because I read the Washington Post named Credence as a top workplace, and not just for a year, but like you said, it's for consecutively 6 years. That tells me that you are, as a founder, as a CEO of Credence, it's not just about having an organization which is financially successful, but then you want to, have a platform where people grow, where people thrive. And you say, so many people come in the interview and say, hope I retire from this company, right? I do not think that can be a bigger compliment. There can be a bigger compliment than this for a founder. So really well done. You have also received several awards. You have received the ENY Entrepreneur Year of the Year award. You have been awarded by the President of India. You have also been I think even the Minority Business Leader Award. So these are big things, right? And you are an inspiration for the entire Indian diaspora. What keeps you motivated every day? Because you inspire so many people, through your work. But what inspires you? What motivates you?
Thank you for your kind words. I actually do not seek recognition. These were recognition that has come my way. What keeps me inspired is all the things that, it's essentially a sense of purpose. There are so many things that interest me, excites me. There are so many businesses, sectors, different things I want to do. So every day when I wake up, right, I'm excited about life. I'm excited about what the day is going to bring. And to a large extent, I'm excited about all the things that I can do beyond Credence and after Credence. And it's a very long list, but it is a very well curated, thoughtful list. And so I am. I've never dwelled on success because I grew up modestly, and even now for me, it has never been about fame, and it has never been about money. In fact, if you go to our website, you probably won't see my picture unless you look really hard, which is for a company our size, that is very unique. And I don't do it as a PR stunt, right? I do it because it's really not about me. It is about what we've been able to build and do.
Talk about Assam, and you also said that when you are in Assam, মানুহে সুধে entrepreneurship or বিষয়ে কেনেকে ভাল business কৰিব পাৰো. বহুত এনেকুৱা আছে যোনে অসমতে হওক বা ইণ্ডিয়াতে হওক, they want to target globally. So let's say America. What would you suggest? Like, what should be the strategy to get into a global market? And in terms of sectors, if I ask you, are there sectors which you think have more potential over others? Like, কোনবোৰ চেক্টৰত বেছি potential আছে যেন লাগে?
So again, if we talk in the most simplest terms, right? I mean, I can always throw economic data and stuff like that, but those things are very academic. If we think about it in the most simplest term, a business thrives on natural resource. Like, what is your inputs, right? In my business, the inputs are supply of highly talented, technical, U.S. citizen who is motivated by a sense of purpose, right? If I just put it, in a summary. So the question is, somebody starting from Assam, or it can be a village. It doesn't really matter. I mean, companies in Africa, companies somewhere else, right? In what is the resource that is most accessible? Because if you don't have the resource, right, then clearly you cannot scale. And the question is, where is the need for that resource most? So you think in very objective terms.
Resource মানে কি কৈ আছা?
Resource মানে what is the most. What is something that is most available that you can sell, right? In my opinion, it is not creating an IT shop. Yeah, you can have an IT shop anywhere in the world, but there is, I don't even know, 100,000, maybe million IT shops, right? So you're competing with all of them. So then how do you differentiate yourself, right? It goes back to really the first question I asked. What are you providing that is better, cheaper, different than everyone else?
While you were also saying, I feel like, getting advice from a successful entrepreneur is one thing, which is fantastic. It can inspire you, but I think you got to have own traits, isn't it, to be successful? Like you have been saying that it doesn't quite matter what background you are from, what experience you have, but you have to have that honesty and wanting to do. So it's all really great to hear, your perspective on entrepreneurship. Across your journey from Guwahati to IIT to US to now, a founder of a company of thousands of employees, what has been your biggest personal challenge? Something that you just don't know how to cope with and you have never known. Is there anything or?
No, there's always, right? I mean, it all depends on at which point of the journey, right? At the early part, there's, of course, trepidation that, will I be successful? How do I deal with uncertainty? And then once we got some traction, and we always had big ambitions, right? Then the question is, is it, how do you always remain curious and finding the best answer, right? I mean, it's almost given that all entrepreneurs will face with the imposter syndrome at some point, because you are selling a future image of yourself. I still have so many fun ideas about new businesses and new things I want to do. And how much am I investing with friends, family? How often I see my mom in Guwahati? Spend time with my daughter, who is going to college next year. So those are all the goals, right? And I don't know if you'll ever have an answer.
True, and then you only have 24 hours in hand, right? The number of hours have not increased with success. So that's another thing. So what's next? Because you said that you have got so many new ideas. Are you exploring anything new?
Yeah, so I want to get into the hospitality industry. In fact, I have already started a series of restaurants, all with a Pan-Asian flavor. I want to have experimental cocktail bars that would bring in all the things that I loved about Assam, from Bhujjalagya to the green mango to all of that. And
why did we not talk about this before? This is
and then I want to start making my own wine, hopefully, and my own whiskey. So these are all things that are that are aspirational at this point.
All right.
But a big part of creating this Jajavor set of industries is to donate a big part of the proceeds to the rainforest in Northeast, Northeast, because I think it's still one of the last few rainforests as remaining. I want to create a big awareness for it, and I want to do something to help preserve it. So the next phase of my companies are not so much for how fast they'll grow or how successful, but it is to how can I channelize that to do something for Northeast that's of social nature, which is why it was also important to pick a word that will resonate with people. And when they see that label anywhere, they would realize that must be
অসমীয়া বুলি গম পাব.
That's right.
Before you go, Siddharth, are there things that you wish you could go and probably you could do differently? It could be a skill that you wish you could develop before, maybe opportunities that you missed, or maybe the way you spoke to somebody you wish you spoke a bit differently, so would you like to go back and change?
No, there's always 100 what ifs and regrets in life, right? But so there's two parts to the answer. A is the road not taken, right? So my life is where I can always say my life is, I'm successful. I've been here because I've been challenged by life, right? I had all these things that has happened to me, which has shaped me. What I don't know is how life would have been different, right? I mean, what if, what if I was born, we had a lot of money, right? Growing up, what if they would have lived to an old age? So what I don't know is where life would have taken me, right? So in a way, I've never looked at the what if scenario because I have been so focused on my business, because I've been focused on making a difference in the customer's life, our employees' life. I have always lived a very fast-paced life. So if there was something that I could do different, it's not decisions that I would have made or done something differently. I think that we can all be a little bit more kinder to be, a little bit more humble, a little bit more caring.
Yeah, it's been truly an honor. I think what you have achieved, what you have built in America as an immigrant is nothing short of extraordinary. I know how many people you inspire, both in Assam, but also, like I said, you're an inspiration for the entire Indian diaspora as well. It is such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, and to you.